Good morning, Yorkshire Classic Cars Limited fans, and welcome to another sunny day in Retford. I like saying that, it's not true. It's overcast and freezing cold. I'd like to introduce you to our latest project that I'm going to be putting on the channel. Okay, it's the mk1 Stag behind me. I have mentioned it several times. Just to give you an overview of what we will be doing to this car, how I'll be doing it. Obviously, I'll be showing you the sort of sections that I'm going through and the jobs that I'm doing on it. This is just body work, okay? So the mechanical side of the car is fine, but I thought I'd give you a quick overview of the car, what's right, what's wrong, and where we're going to start, okay? From here, really. Okay, so you'll notice I've pushed the car out. I'm going to roll it back a teeny tiny little bit. The reason for that is because when I do the work, I need it on a nice, flat, solid surface. But obviously, I don't want it to block everything else in the workshop in case I get deviated for some reason from the job. But anyway, the car itself. Okay, so we've got a 1971-72 mk1 Stag. Okay, it is a mk1. Okay, in case you're wondering, it is definitely a mk1 Stag. It is wearing mk2 wheels. So all of you out there stood screaming at me, going, "No, it's mk2. It's got mk2 wheels on." Obviously, it's not difficult to make a mk2 and a mk1 look like the other. So you can see it's got the mk1 soft top there with the windows in the side. Sorry, I hate that soft top. It's just a personal thing, but I just hate the shape of the mk1 soft top. Some people love it, some people hate it. I'm one of the haters, sorry. It's not my car, so it really doesn't matter. Grey badges, obviously very easy to change, but they are there. The wheels are mk2 alloy wheels, but I like those alloy wheels, so I have no objection to that one iota. But as we can see, the doors are wearing the large locks. Okay, mk1 doors, door catches. This is more difficult to change. Okay, it is possible. Obviously, everything's possible. But mk1 locks and mk2 locks are difficult to swap over. Obviously, this part is slightly different. The mounting behind is slightly different. And the door is slightly different here. But again, it's all possible. Brown interior, not sure if it's tan or chestnut, but either way it is. As you can see, mk1 seats. Again, the headrest built into the top of the seat. I love these seats. Don't know why, just do. And obviously, you can see the mk1 gauges. Slightly different to the mk2s. Obviously, the oil pressure gauge is fitted there. Little brief history about the car. Obviously can't go into too much details for data protection and things like that because it's not my car. But the customer, my customer, the owner of the car, owned the car and loved it and cherished it. Then for some reason sold it for his reasons, obviously, none of my business. Can't remember what he sold me and I'm not going to tell you anyway. So he sold it, he saw it come up for sale and he's managed to buy it back. Now in the meantime, it's had a lot of use and to be fair, it's been bodged up quite badly. So the bodywork is incredibly poor. Now, mechanically, excellent. The engine is excellent. It's got the Jaguar ZF 4-speed gearbox in it, which is a really, really good modification. Can't remember the name of the chap who does it, but it is an ace mod. I've driven 2 or 3 with that. Excuse me. Shift the jack. I've driven 2 or 3 with that in, and it's very smooth, and it really does flatter the Stag quite a lot. It really works well with the engine, so whoever decided to do that, brilliant idea. However, bodywork-wise, you can see that the body stripe is obviously wrong. That's one thing that does really narc me, and I hate body stripes. However, this is a mk1 Stag, so it shouldn't have a body stripe anyway, but this should have a cutout here and here if it's in the right place. The reason that hasn't been done, and if you can zoom in there a bit, can you see the filler starting to peel and crack here? Now, this is a good place to check a Stag for rot carefully, but I can tell you now that the thickness of that inner sill is about that. This is just all filler. You can hear it. This is all filler down here. There's a massive step here that you won't be able to pick up on the camera, but there's a huge step here. And as ever, the B-strip is wrong. So this here is the only part of it that's right. This isn't right. This definitely isn't right. It's flush here. If you ever look at a Stag, I saw one recently offered on a competition. This was really funny. It was one of those raffle competitions, and I don't get involved with those. I've entered a couple when it was something I really fancied, like a Skyline, but I don't do it because by the time you spend the money, it'd be cheaper to buy one. And they were offering this Stag, and it was like, oh, it's absolutely perfect, fully restored. And I was looking at it thinking the B panels are just wrong, completely wrong. So yeah, it's probably been restored, but they got that wrong. So, you know, makes you wonder about the rest of it. But anyway, B panel, always a good place to check on a Stag. This is pure filler. You can see here, there's a ridge down the middle of here where somebody's put a panel in, no doubt. You can hear it's all Jimmy in there, Jimmy Riller, filler. And it's flat to the sill, which is wrong. The sills are rotted out. The doors are rotten. As again, you can see the full of filler down the bottom. The wings actually aren't that bad. There is a lot of filler in here. Again, the arch there is a good inch thick on the inside, and it feels rubbery for some reason. Don't know why. So the inner arches are gone. The wings are gone. So the bonnet is fine. Stag bonnets, say this every time. Never seen a rusty Stag bonnet yet. I've seen them in bare metal outside and they still don't go rotten. So if somebody offers you a rare rot-free bonnet, it's just it's just a misnomer. They're always like that. So anyway, back to the job in hand. This is a body restoration. The customer has supplied me with panels. You can see them there wrapped in bubble wrap up next to the blue box there, green box, sorry. And up on the shelf over there, those are wings, front valance, sills, etc., etc., etc. So he's sent me all the panels. You've got to start with the sills first. I've said this many times, and I'll come back on camera for this. Stag sills are crucial. There's no strength in a Stag. Good, bad, or indifferent sills. The inner sills and sills are absolutely crucial. Even with good sills, they're not strong. Okay, you put them up on the ramp, you can feel them open up like that, and the doors won't close. They all do that. The T-bar does very little. The holes in it are huge. It just moves around. So it's essential that your sills are absolutely perfect. Now, to do your sills correctly is a little bit of a, it's not a work of art, and there's nothing really exceptionally clever about it, but it's quite a drawn out and tenuous process. And when you take the sills off, inevitably, the inner sills, you can't see them. And I'll show you that when I start on the job, but you can't see the inner sill. You can see the top part of it, but you can't see the bottom that rots because the floor goes under it. And again, I'll show you that when I get under there. But yeah, so the sills they're all the strength of the car, and they need to be correct and in the correct place. After that, everything else is fairly standard for everything else. But I mean, sills are sills. You know, every car, they're very similar. I don't agree with patching up sills and adding sections in unless there's some really good reason for it. But on a Stag, absolutely not, no. They need to be absolutely properly fitted, at least as good as they were from the factory to maintain some strength. The inner sill is very, very thick material. It's about 2 millimeters thick, and that's done for a reason. Anywho, that's where we're going to start, okay? So the first job is... I'm going to pull the interior out, okay? So the seats, front and rear seats, maybe just the front seats for now, actually, and the carpets. So I can get to taking a sill off one side. Then I'm going to strip the doors off, okay? So I'm going to strip one door off. We have a door in the boot. I can't... Right, so you see me dismantle the door there. I'm going to do it quite detailed, just so basically you can see what I'm doing in case you need to do it yourself. Obviously somebody's had the plastic off and they've taped it back on, which is poor, but you know, kind of does the job, I guess. To remove a door card on a Stag, you need to take this off, okay, which is the control here for the quarter light, okay, just one Phillips screw in the middle of there. The chrome cover on there just pops out, all right, so using like a terminal screwdriver or something like that, usually. I just used a big screwdriver, but only because I know what I'm doing. If you're not sure, just something sort of sharp into there, just pop that out. I'll put that back on, it keeps the screw in it. One screw here, all right, that's a bit long, that screw actually, but that keeps This trim on here, these are easy to get off and a literal nightmare to put back on in my experience. They have two little hooks on them usually. This one's broken on both. Quite honestly, if yours are broken, don't worry too much about it. Don't try and get another one just because of that, because they are ludicrously expensive, especially with the hooks on. The screw holds it perfectly well. If you're not sure, just put a tiny blob of super glue on the back of here and then the screw in, and that'll hold them fine. Then there's one screw here, okay, that goes into there. That's this screw. Now this one's a Phillips, as it should be, or posi drive or whatever it is, but that holds the door handle on, and that's it, okay. The door handle is then screwed to the door card, and then beyond that there's obviously the poppers that pull out of here. If you're struggling with those, I think I've used some Audi trim clips for those. These have obviously been replaced with something, don't know what. They have a metal clip that goes into there. I used, I can't remember what they were now. They were like an Audi trim clip with the pin missing, and you press them in and they're just the same size, and they fit really nicely. They're metric, so they're a tiny bit smaller hole in the middle and the grip on lovely. So that's pretty much it. To take the door card off, then when I remove this, I'll make some fresh when it goes back together, so I'm not worried about damaging this. It's not great, but I can make some fresh stuff before it all goes back together. Although it's generally not on there anyway. Oh, the other thing is the wires for the puddle light. They're just on bullet connectors like these. Important when you put it back together that they run underneath the electric window mechanism, otherwise it catches on it, shorts and blows the fuse all the time. Those run down here in this little loom, which runs across here somewhere. Can't find it now with the camera, sorry. It's here somewhere. Oh, there, look. And that runs into here, through here, and then inside that there's a plug which I'll be disconnecting. Obviously the carpet's halfway out, but there's a little teeny tiny trim plug that I'm going to take off anyway. Obviously I've disconnected the battery before I started all this, just to be on the safe side. Now to remove the door, you can see these three holes here, 1, 2, 3. Inside those is a 5/16 UNF with a 1/2 inch head on it. 1, 2, 3 here. So I'm going to take those off and then the door comes off. But before I do that, I'm going to disconnect the wiring and take all that with the door from inside here. These pull out, they're like a plastic grommet. Probably just have to lever that out slightly. And then I can take this trim cover off as well down below. Okie dokie. Right, so you just saw me remove the door. A couple of points to note in here. First of which is someone's beautifully redesigned it here. I assume in order to get the window mechanism out. They've cut all the way through with an angle grinder, look. All the way through, or a chisel. It may have been a chisel, to be fair. And then they've just spot welded it back. So you'll see here, I must apologise that the microphone obviously wasn't working, but I'm just demonstrating, I'm trying to do a narration over the top, but I'm demonstrating basically how the hinge works, and that those holes, the screws or bolts go through those, and the door has a captive nut inside it. Now these hinges are US, they're no good. They've both got an awful lot of play in them. So what I'm basically doing is I've ordered some more door hinges and I've got to wait for those to arrive. I'm just looking at the wire in there because I couldn't find the plug, so I had to cut the wire. And I'm just trying to explain that. Sorry, I'm Stephen sniffling on this because I have got a little bit of a cold and the cold weather isn't helping, my nose not running. So basically, you'll see in a second when I wiggle the hinges about that there's loads of lift in them. You can see it there. So what I'm going to do now is stop this part. Luckily the sound does come back in the next segment or so of the video, so I can only apologise. I've no idea why the microphone stopped working, but I have ordered some new hinges, and those will be coming sometime early next week. So here I'm showing you the new door, or the replacement door. I shouldn't say new, it obviously isn't new. You can see there's a small dint in the corner I was just pointing to, and a little one on the back edge there where obviously from it being knocked about I can only assume, because actually the rest of the door is quite straight. It's been reskinned at some time and it's had some repairs to the frame, so I was interested to see how well it would actually fit. Obviously it started to work again, the microphone, but I've put the door on the car. I didn't waste any time bolting it up or anything, but you can see the corner there that's just pressed in ever so slightly. That's very easy to repair just with a mallet or a hammer and dolly. I was just basically trial fitting it on the car just to see how well the edges of the door line up with the wing and the back panel, the B panel. Now obviously it needs some adjustment and it needs bolting up everything securely. But I wasn't going to waste my time doing that because the hinges have too much play in them. If I line them up with those hinges that have got loads of play in them, and then set the sill up to the door and the panel up to the door, and then the new hinges come and they're wrong, then that's obviously no good whatsoever. So I've ordered the new hinges, but the wing actually fits well to the door, and the door actually fits well to the top section there. Now it's difficult to show you that in this video. I am showing you it there. That the top edge there where my hand is a really, really good positive fit. The edge there is slightly in where my fingers are there. That's good because I can move that out ever so slightly when I put the new sill in. Obviously I can sort of adjust the sill to match the door at the bottom, and I can also adjust the side of the car to match the door. But the door shape itself is very good. It contours down there very well. It's only where the car has been poorly repaired previously that it really does show any issues at all. As you can see, the gaps are good front to back as well. The wings are obviously coming off, and I only need to set the gap up to the rear of the door. The shape of the panel, which you can't actually see very well there, is slightly wrong. I have another door that I took off the white Stag that I broke up for the engine, but I aren't sure which door is best for the passenger side. The door for the driver's side is terrible, but luckily the door supplied by the customer is good. The door on the car here is very, very thick of filler at the bottom. So, welcome back. The sun's come out, so it is a sunny day in Retford. You'll notice now, if you look at the Stag, back to the job in hand, I've ordered some hinges. These are the originals. I think I've shown you this already, but I'll show you again. You can hear the play in them. They are quite bad. I've gone ahead and stripped the rest of the car out, ready for the sills to come off. Obviously, I can't do that till I've set the doors up. I'm quite happy with the door we've got. Having had a look at the other door, which I'll show you in a moment, that I aren't sure which is best. So I'm going to strip those down and have a look at those whilst I'm waiting for the hinges to appear. I'll probably do those tomorrow so I can do them outside, because if there's a lot of filler and I'm cleaning it away, I like to do it outside for obvious reasons. A couple of things to note. Seatbelts out. There is a seatbelt mounting here where my finger is. Hope you can see it there. Okay. If you're struggling to get seatbelt bolts out, pull the seatbelt up and out to empty the roller, and then that gives you more room to get your socket in. They are 11/16 AF. I use an 18mm socket. Yes and no. Stone me at dawn, but the fact is it does the job. The fur flex is in good condition, so I'm going to take that off in a second. Interesting point to note, I'll show you over on the other side. You can see that it's had some attention in here, and the sills at a glance actually don't look bad on the inner sills. The outer sills have issues. The doorstep here is crusting away. This screw wouldn't come out. It has rusted in solid, the little self-tapper on the sill trims, and they were glued on, which is always a bad sign. This is the good side of the two. If I take you over to the other side, you can see here that there is a honking great big hole that they just put the sills tread plate cover over. These holes are always here. They're like breather holes. This is where the screw has gone through originally, Oh, there's the screw hole. And it's basically been it's just rusted and rotted away. And it is long gone. Yeah, bit naughty that. That underneath is odd. But anyway, we'll come back to that. Going inside, again, you can see, I'm hoping you can see without the torch. You can see here, I had a scrape at what's going on there because you could see it peeling away. Now, when the sill looks reasonably respectable at the bottom there, that's always a bit of a nightmare because you don't know what somebody's done to it. This is just, it's basically filler. The bottom half of the sill has had just sort of a stonky section welded in, I think, and that's just body filler. People do have a habit of putting an L section in here. Okay, but I'll show you in a second. I'll show you a drawing of what that actual sill should look like along its length. You can see here in the inner sill, there is this ridge here, this recess, and that has the wiring loom that goes from the front to the car to the back. That's the same at both sides. The pillar here doesn't look too bad. It doesn't look too chopped about, which is a good start. I've taken the carpet out, taken the parcel tray out to take the carpet out, which was an interesting job on its own. Quite funny, really. I wish I'd videoed it, but I didn't. I've taken the carpets here out, taken the carpet here, and obviously the seat. The seat are just on 1/2 inch, 5/16 UNF bolts, but they are special bolts. They have a wasted part to help you find the hole when you put them back in. So try to keep those separate. Those screws are out of, I've taken the lights out of the B-pillars. Mark 1s have the lights there. If you have a Mark 2, it's up in the top of the T-bar. And these will need to come out, but they have a stainless steel trim at the back, which I need to take off, so I need to take the roof down to do that. No great rush there. But yeah, so no major surprises. They've painted over a rust hole, though, which is always quite funny. These hinges are good, tiny bit of play in them, but they need a little bit of play, otherwise they don't work, which is ironic, because I have a pair of those. The door is poor. The frame is quite good. When we get down here, it's obviously got, it's difficult to see there, I appreciate, but there's quite a thickness there, so I assume that's all filler at the bottom. What I'm going to do is clean both door bottoms off with the Y wheel and look at having a go at repairing them. You've got to do your doors first. If you're having your cars restored and they say we'll fix the doors afterwards once the sills and things are on, you need to have a long word with yourself, because that's bad practice. So I will have a look and see if that door or the white door I've got is better, and I'll use whichever one is the straighter, better door. My door that I saved off the white car also has issues down there. It's had some repair work done, so I don't know how good or bad it is, really. I want to Y-wheel it off because it's got some filler and stuff in there. It may just be a sealer. It may not. It's bubbling a little at the bottom, but the shape, the skin feels nice and thin there is probably the best way of describing it. So whether it's been riveted around, there isn't like an extra inch of filler on it. If this is all the rust in it, I'm absolutely fine with that. I can repair that section, no problem at all. Just cut it out and repair it. There's a little rust here. There's some micro blistering, but I don't think it's a bad door. It feels reasonably straight, hence why I kept it. So, as I slip back into teach mode, I'll have to apologise for that. But as you look down the length of a Stag sill, the inner sill is like this. Okay, so it's that shape. There's the recess. And it goes out like that. Along its length, it does that. And then goes down a bit, and then like that, but at the bottom. But basically, all the way down its length, it's pretty much that shape. The outer sill does what the Americans call a pinch weld, but that's a flange there with a spot weld on each side, a spot welded together. Okay, I'll wipe that off because it's irrelevant. With the spot weld on there, and then it comes out to the doorstep, down, and then goes like that, nips together. Okay, so in theory it creates a box section, although it's a shape box section. Now then, the interesting factor here is this, obviously here is the part of the sill that rusts away because the rain and muck and muck and filth gets in it. This is the part you see in the car here. That's the part where it joins the floor, but the floor comes down underneath it like that. Okay, to that edge, there or thereabouts. Sometimes there's a small gap here. but you put a little bit of sealer in there depending on the shape of the floor. Now, that is spot welded up through here, excuse the arrows, up to the bottom of the sill. So basically, when you look outside at the car, if that section of floor is good or has been repaired or filled up or undersealed or whatever, it doesn't always show that the inner sill here is actually rotted out. And of course, that's the part that's unprotected, because when you weld it here, you burn all the paint off. So although I will paint all that, it will still burn it off, and it's difficult to stop that. And it's okay wax on it to slowing it down, but it won't always help. Now, what people tend to do is when they've done floors and things on a Stag, or if they've put repair sections in. So for example, if you've got your original flooring like that, and then they put a repair section in because this part here is starting to go, you'll have that welded in the top. And that's a bit of a nightmare, really, because quite honestly, if this floor is just rotten, it's easier to repair than it is to do that. But when it's been welded here, oops, and here, or here, and here, it makes a lot more repairing, because obviously cutting that out becomes a little bit of a nightmare. However, these ones may or may not be done like that. It's hard to tell with all that muck in there at the moment, but whichever it is, we still have to deal with it, so it's irrelevant. But that's the length, and that's the box section. That's how the sill is formed. So please excuse my shonky diagram. But basically, that's a standard Stag cross section of floor with a spot weld here, a spot weld here. Okay, the shape may be a little off. Just allow me that. I was never an art teacher. I was a design teacher. So I'm going to draw this video to a close here. So I've introduced you to the Stag. I'm showing you what we're doing. I'm obviously going to go through and do the sills once the doors are lined up. So the next stage will be to get the new hinges on, get the door lined up, and I'll show you how to best line your door up if you're doing your sills. Obviously the sill that's on is wrong, so you don't want to be lining up to that sill, but I'll show you the areas that you really do need to concentrate on to get it right. And then we'll go from there. In the meantime, I may or may not video. Just let me know if you want me to video it. But I'll clean the doors off, and we'll have a look at the condition of those. If they're absolutely US, then I'll have to get some more. Second-hand Mark 1 Stag doors at a premium price. So if I can repair those, it's worth repairing them, basically. But yeah, so I'll draw it to a close there. Next installment will either be the doors and or the door alignment, going into me starting to cut the sills off. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe. Hope you enjoy it. Please have a look through my other videos. There's lots of Stag videos. Do need to change my playlists, get them all in order, but one of these grey days I'll work out how to do that. Thanks for tuning in, and continue watching.